My teaching for today is all about giving us a warning on how we go about these spiritual works. This has to do with calling on ancestors and using some spiritual items. And I would like you to listen attentively. If your culture doesn't permit you to use certain items while performing spiritual work, please, I want you to stay away from using those items. These items we're talking about are actually meant for a certain culture. It is not every culture that makes use of every spiritual items. If you are a white person watching me now, and you know that your culture has nothing to do with alligator pepper, or bitter cola, or cola nut, or local dry gin, please, I would like you to stay away from making use of these items while performing spiritual work. For you to perform that spiritual work and it works for you, you will have to involve someone whose culture it is that makes use of these items. The reason why I'm saying this is because whenever we are performing spiritual works and we gather all these items and then we start praying, when we are praying, there are spirits around. Whenever you start praying, spirits must be around. They must be welcome. They must come to listen to what you are saying. And if you are a white person and you lift up alligator pepper to pray, does your culture know about that? Is your culture aware of it? Does it permit it? Are your ancestors aware about alligator pepper? If they are not aware of it, there is nothing they can do for you. That means what you have to do is you need to see someone whose culture makes use of alligator pepper. And I know in Nigeria, if not all the cultures in Nigeria, we all make use of alligator pepper. Yes, every culture in Nigeria. I don't know about any other African country, but every culture in Nigeria makes use of alligator pepper. So if your culture doesn't permit that alligator pepper, or your culture is not even aware of it and has never seen it, don't use it. There are so many spiritual works that someone can do without spiritual items. Yes, there are spiritual items that anybody can use without incurring any wrath upon yourself. But you see, using this local dry gin, in Igbo land, we use that local dry gin to awaken the god of the land, the spirit of the land. We pour libation upon the land, and then the spirit rises. That is what we use. But if you are a foreigner and you are not aware of this, please don't make use of that local dry gin. Don't pour any libation. Don't do any spiritual work with that thing. There are spiritual works that you can do with other things created by God that doesn't require any being rising up. Items like plants. Maybe you want to perform a spiritual work and you want to use plants. Every plant can be found anywhere, and they all serve the same purposes, spiritually and physically. Things like basil. You can use basil wherever you are to perform a spiritual work. It doesn't have side effects. But you see this alligator pepper, bitter cola, cola nut, dry gin, they normally have side effects, especially when handled by someone who is not supposed to handle them. Now, another thing I want to teach us on is this. It has to do with getting the ancestors to be involved in whatever you are doing. If you believe that your ancestors are active and they are still working, and you want to involve them in whatever you are doing, it must be you that will do this. It must be you that will call on your ancestors. You don't tell someone else to do it for you. Because when that person calls on your ancestors, they will not answer because they don't know the person. It is you that will do it. But for someone to call on your ancestors so that they will answer, it means the person will have to go with you to your hometown. The person must travel with you to your hometown to where you are coming from, to where your parents are from. That's your ancestral home. The person will have to go with you to your ancestral home. So when the person is there and is there calling your ancestors will answer. They will rise up. So you don't tell someone else to perform a spiritual work for you while you are in the city, in the town. It may work for you, it may not work for you. But there are most of the spiritual works, most times, needs that someone will have to go with you to your hometown. It needs that you, in particular, will have to visit your hometown. Because whenever we are talking about spiritual work, we're talking about solving the problem from the root. And when you want to solve the problem from the root, you have to go back to your hometown. That is where you are coming from. Wherever your parents are, that is where you are coming from. So when we talk about spiritual works and solving it from the root, you go back home. There are certain spiritual works you will do while away from home, and it will work for you. But there are the ones that there is nothing you can do that will make it work for you if you decide not to go back home. So when you are planning on going back home and you know that you are not that powerful to call on your ancestors to perform certain spiritual works, then you have to involve someone who can do that on your behalf. But the person must get home with you. The person must come to your hometown. So I want to give us this advice to be very careful when we are performing spiritual works. Know the items that you are supposed to use and the ones that you are not supposed to use. Be very sure that your people recognize this item and they always use it. So whenever you use that item, it will work for you. So that you don't incur wrath upon yourself and upon your family. If you are a foreigner watching me now, I don't know your culture, and I believe you don't know mine. But maybe after watching my video, you will want to practice it. I want you to be very careful when it has to do with using all these items that I just mentioned. Most especially alligator pepper, bitter cola, cola nut, and local dry gin. Be very careful while using these items, okay? So that you don't get yourself into trouble. You don't get your family into trouble. In case you are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome. Endeavor to subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click on that notification bell so that you will join us fully. And until next time when we are all going to meet, I will have to leave us here. Have a wonderful day and God bless.